That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The Boys in the Boat, the 9th film directed by George Clooney, which Amazon MGM Studios is releasing Christmas Day 2023.
I can't name a film George Clooney directed.
You can't?
No.
Well, we reviewed his last two.
What are they?
The Midnight Sky, which also came out at the end of December that
I don't
year.
remember that.
It's not, we didn't like it. And The Tender Bar with Ben Affleck and...
George Clooney directed that?
Yeah, well, we reviewed it, yeah.
I remember thinking Ben Affleck was good in that movie.
I agree. And this film also has kind of a similar youthful man, kind of like Ty Sheridan at the beginning of it. But I haven't watched Clooney's first three in a long time, which includes Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, and Good Night and Good Luck, and Leatherheads. He also did Ides of March, Monuments Men, Suburbicon, and I think that's all of them. But recently, a lot of them seem to be lacking a certain something. Like, as in, I don't know why he's the person to be telling these stories.
Well, this movie, a 1930s set story centered on the University of Washington's rowing team, from their Depression-era beginnings to winning gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. That's basically it.
It should have been called A Boat of Their Own.
When I read that premise and saw the trailer, this movie seems very predictable.
If you have grandparents that are still alive from The Greatest Generation, and you have to take them out on Christmas, I guess this is a movie for them, because I thought this was incredibly boring.
What do you want to say about it?
My pull quote?
Oh, yes, your pull quote.
An emotionally frugal sports drama so elemental it strides into a creative coma, George Clooney overdoses on old-fashioned aspirations.
So there's one kid kind of as the lead.
So it focuses on Callum Turner, who kind of has the same hair color of, is it Joe Blythe from Songbirds and Snakes?
Oh, okay.
Like you shouldn't be having this kind of hair color. Playing Joe Rantz, who's this working class young man who's been abandoned by his parents, and that is his backstory. And he has aspirations of being on this 8-man rowing team in Seattle.
Why?
He was born to row.
Really? That's all we get?
It starts out with very much like Stand By Me, if you remember Richard Dreyfuss in the beginning, reminiscing about his youth, where the older Joe it takes us into the backstory and then bookends it with a very clunky ending, talking to his grandson. But the film is very... all of the beats are very familiar. We get this montage of the team selection where Joel Edgerton plays Al Ulbrickson, who is the coach, who seems very matter-of-fact and doesn't varnish his words, if you will, in the selection of the team. It showcases how Joe has to balance his life at university and this very dull young woman that he meets named Joyce, who he has a romance with, played by Hadley Robinson, who adds absolutely nothing to the mix. And then we have to go through this regatta where it's this old money versus no money, the poor team versus the rich kids, and of course the Rantz's team wins, and then we have to, so they are then selected to compete in Berlin for the Olympics that year, but there's no money to send them because nobody thought they would win, so there's a minor kerfluffle with that, trying to raise money, and then we have kind of the same thing in Berlin happening with the regatta. It all exactly feels the same, except we have this hammy actor playing Hitler who's overseeing everything, looking angry, and then Jesse Owens, who is playing the Olympics that year. George Clooney gives him this little aside to talk about how he's not competing to outshow the Germans, he's competing to show the Americans what's what.
How does it look?
It was shot by Martin Rui, which is... It looks fine. I feel like there was a recent film about a young woman played by Isabel Fuhrman in The Novice about trying to become a competitive rower, which has all the passion that this film is lacking. This feels very much like Chariots of Fire, except without that fantastic score that kind of makes that film somewhat palatable to get through. So Edgerton is fine. We've seen him in this mode before. I don't even know why he would have wanted to do this film other than the chance to work with someone like Clooney. I do like Peter Guinness, who's a wonderful British character actor. You might recognize him as one of the inmates of Alien 3. He's playing George Pocock, who is the one who put together, who built the boat that they're rowing in and is fixing it up. And he has a bond with Joe Rantz, and they keep coming back to making sure he keeps Joe motivated to stay in the race because, of course, he's somewhat of a rebellious spirit and has some a face-off with Joel Edgerton, who almost takes him out at the last minute in the Olympics. But, of course, he does not. One of my notes on this is like, well, they better win the race. Why are we watching this? There's absolutely nothing surprising about that.
That should be the tagline.
But in the opening credits, I was annoyed, which is not a good sign with this. My first note is, the score. Only to find that it was the great Alexander Desplat, who's a 2-time Oscar winner. Desplat has provided a score for 5 film releases this year, and this and 2 others I thought were ruinous film scores. It was surprising because
What are the other 2 movies?
For Asteroid City, I didn't like that film, and the score makes it worse. And also for Roman Polanski's The Palace, which is not a good film either, but the score certainly sends it down into hell as well. But I really didn't like it. It was very dull. But Callum Turner is a nice screen presence. Of course, he's a very handsome man to look at. I don't think I've really liked a film that he's been in, though, since Green Room or John Boorman's Queen and Country, both of which were damn near a decade ago. I don't know. There's little here for me to cling on to for the running time.
What would you give The Boys in the Boat?
The Boys in the... I keep wanting to say The Boys in the Band.
I do, too.
Which... both versions of that film, but especially Friedkin's, are much more worth your time. I'm being extremely generous, I think, in giving this a 2.
All done?
Row, ya bastards! I kept wanting to say that.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.